Hey horror fans, bored now, back with Rachel McDonald. On this video, we're going to be talking about Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. Happy Death Day, in case you don't know the premise, I'm sure most of you do, but if you don't, just imagine Groundhog Day, but with a slasher premise. So you have this college student named Tree, short for Teresa, and she starts reliving the same day. It just happens to be her birthday over and over again, but the twist is she gets killed and that repeats itself. So she has to figure out who's killing her and how to stop this person. So you have a little bit of a mystery element tied in. And there's another character called Carter, another student whose room she keeps, like, she wakes up in at the start of the day. So there's a little bit of a sub mystery with that relationship that slowly forms over the movie. And we learn more about Tree and her life, her relationship with her family and stuff like that. So you sort of have a whodunit thrown in with the slasher stuff and the Groundhog Day stuff. How do you feel about the first Happy Death Day?
I really like Happy Death Day. I saw it for the first time a couple of years ago, and I remember finding it to be just a really fun movie. I mean, it's definitely more comedy than horror, which I think a lot of comedy horrors do tend to veer into. They tend to be more comedy than horror, but I think it does have some fun sequences as well, especially as Tree keeps reliving the days. In the first couple of days, there are some pretty intense sequences when the killer's coming after her. I think Tree as a character is actually really fun because she's kind of an asshole. So I like that, at the beginning of the film, she's kind of a jerk. And part of her arc is learning to be like a better person and learning to not be a dick, basically. So I really like that. And I like that they give us a little bit of depth to her character as the movie goes on. Like Keith mentions, you meet her family and you find out that, she's had some tragedy and she's working through some things. And I think that adds a little bit of depth to her character, makes her a little bit meatier than maybe she would have been. I also think the actress who plays her is really fun. And when she starts reliving days and doing crazy stuff as the days go on, because she knows she can get away with it, that's a lot of fun. And I think the film, like you said, the murder mystery aspect is really interesting because she obviously, as the days go by, she has to figure out who is trying to kill her. And it's really funny when she's coming up with a suspect list because there's so many people that she's pissed off, and Carter's just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like at one point she's like, oh, it could have been the Uber driver that I spat on last week. And he's just like, what? So yeah, she really is a terrible person. And so it's fun to kind of see the mystery unravel, and then of course at the end of the film you get this great reveal of like who the killer actually is. And the first time I watched the film, I have to admit I didn't see it coming, like the actual reveal of who was trying to kill her, but I think it worked out really well. So when I was rewatching it this time, I noticed there are actually a few little subtle hints at who has actually killed her that you don't pick up the first time around. So overall, I think Happy Death Day, I don't think, Groundhog Day as a slasher film is a very fun concept, and obviously not the most original concept. Loop days have been done in film for ages, but I think this one's a fun twist, and I think it also has a really good runtime. I think it's only like an hour and 40 minutes. And just the other day, I think we were talking off camera and I was complaining about how movies are just getting so long. So it's nice to watch a nice movie that's just an hour and 40 minutes, no fuss, no muss, just gets to the point. So overall, I had a lot of fun rewatching this, and I remember when I first watched it, I really enjoyed it. What about you? Is this is a rewatch for you, I'm assuming, this time around?
So Rachel, how did you feel about Happy Death Day?
What? Okay.
It's a gag.
Oh, you lost me for a second, but that was good.
It didn't quite as work as well because you screwed it up a bit. But I've got to do it at least once. On this video.
I get it.
Yeah.
How did you go?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's really, I've enjoyed this one ever since I saw it. Jessica Roth plays Tree.
That's her name, yes.
And she's really good. Like, I've not really seen her in anything else, but based on these movies, I think she could have a real career. I think she's mostly done TV apart from this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, she's very good. She's very natural. It probably helps that they don't make her too unlikable. Like they don't take it too far with that, because there are characters like her best friend at the sorority who's more
Yeah.
unlikable. But then there's subversions as well, because the person who turns out to be the killer is set up as a more likable character, so you least expect her to be the killer. But yeah, Tree's a really likable, engaging character, and the actress does the full range because she's very convincing as the more shallow, bitchy sorority type. But then you see the change and the growth in her, and that's definitely using the Groundhog Day formula type thing, because that's what happens in that film. The Bill Murray character definitely changes and becomes less cynical as that film goes on. So it's perfect, really, and just using it as a slasher murder mystery gives it that sort of like enough of a change to make it fun. It's perfectly paced, I agree. It is the perfect length for this kind of movie. If you made it much longer, it might sort of outstay its and the kill scenes, they're not fantastic deaths, but I think they're fun enough. This sort of film, it sort of knows what it is and does keep it relatively light and tongue-in-cheek. So the fact that the kills don't stand out probably doesn't matter too much. You've got other like strong, decent characters. I think Carter's a very likable love interest.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, he really convinced me. Then he was like a good guy, and they definitely made a good couple, I think, by the end of the movie. Some fun gags, some fun like references. They even reference obviously Groundhog Day at one point. Carter's room alone is like a shrine to like all sort of. You've got like mystery science fiction poster.
There's a They Live poster as well.
Maybe Evil. Was there Evil Dead? Something. There was.
I think there was. But there was definitely They Live. Yeah, a lot of 80s references.
Yeah. So really cool for someone of his age. But this. Yeah, they have good chemistry. I like their relationship. I obviously enjoyed Tree's changes over the course of the movie. And it just gets more fun in a way the more she repeats stuff and finds out new things, and like just some of the interactions and the way they changes, like with the really shy Asian girl on the steps. You obviously you have her like going from totally like ignoring the charity girl to actually signing it, but just signing it before she even has time to like ask her, sort of thing. And it's so funny, isn't it? The bit where she thinks she's broke the loop but hasn't, and she just snaps basically. But you get different things. You get her just at one point. It's like screw it. She walks around naked type.
Yeah, that's a fun scene. Yeah.
But it's sort of. I think it is quite realistic, like the way she acts a lot of the times, because I think if you were going through this yourself, you would get to a point where you're like, screw it, this just keeps happening, so I might as well just
have some fun with it.
Yeah, and the other film, the sequel, sort of leans into that a bit as well.
Because at one point in time, she finds out that she is carrying the damage from all of her deaths. Like, she ends up in the hospital, and the doctor, the skeezy doctor that she's having an affair with, she's such a great person in this, he brings out an x-ray. He's like, your body is full of scar tissue and injuries that should mean that you're dead. So, it's not like she can just relive every day and she's fine. She is actually starting to carry the results of her injuries. And as she says to Carter, she's like, I only have a certain amount of lives. Like, God knows how many times I can do this before my body says, okay, that's enough. And I actually thought that was a really interesting take to have on that, to show that, no, she can't just endlessly relive these days. Her body is actually taking damage from all of these deaths that she keeps experiencing. So, I mean, the movie's very light, it's a comedy, but if you think on that for too much, it becomes really dark, like every death that she has, she's experiencing it. So she's experiencing these horrific murders over and over again, the pain and the terror and the horror, and then her body is carrying the scars. So yeah, I think that definitely adds the stakes and, helps you to feel that she is in danger despite the fact that she can keep waking up. It's showing that, no, it's taking a toll on her, and she only has a certain amount of time to figure out who's doing this to her. So I think they do a good job with showing that.
A continuity error from the first film. and maybe you can answer it. Now, remind me again, what was the name of the sorority girl, the other one who was
Danielle? Oh,
really
or the one who...
bitchy? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Danielle.
Danielle.
He has the Cordelia style vibe
Yes.
to her. Very much. Tree goes them both in front of that bus. She changes something in the pattern, then she thinks it will reset, sort of thing. Like things will go back to normal. What I'm saying is, in her mind, she can't alter time. Like, if she wants to break the cycle, she can't alter time. Like, she can't alter how things played out in the original cycle, if you see what I mean, because...
No, I get what you're saying, but no, I think she can change. I think the only thing that needs to happen is she needs to make sure that she dies so that she resets the day. Because we see her reliving a few different scenarios where she's killed in different places. So I don't think she has to reenact the exact same day.
But I'm not saying with her. I'm saying she kills Danielle. So, like, when they go in front of the thing. So, in theory, shouldn't that upset the cycle? Like,
no, I guess because Tree died with her, if she'd thrown Danielle in front of the bus and only Danielle had died, it might have changed things. But because they both die at the same time, that resets the day for Tree. So it doesn't really matter that she's taken Danielle with her because she herself has died. So I do understand what you're saying, but I think if she'd thrown Danielle in front of the bus, maybe we might have an issue and then gone off and died later. But because she died as well, that just resets the day, and therefore it doesn't matter that Danielle died on that previous day because Tree died too. So she gets to restart everything.
Have a discussion and work it out. Like, there are answers. Another answer could be just that logic is something Tree has come up with anyway. It doesn't it's necessarily right, but I did think of that later on when she basically sacrifices herself for Carter.
Yeah.
Because Carter's basically dead, so she decides she's going to kill herself so that he'll then live.
Yeah.
The day will restart and he'll still be alive. And it's stuff like that where they really play with the formula, which is really fun, and you can sort of feel the stuff.
I really liked that. That scene was really cool when we got towards the end because she's so every day she relives, she's trying to figure out who killed her, and then on like this one, almost I think it's like the penultimate day or something, she sees that there's a serial killer loose in her town, and so she believes that it's the serial killer that's killed her. And so she has, like you said, she has this great day where she actually thinks that she's beat the curse, and she's really happy, and she goes and she makes amends with her dad, because that's right, we find out some of Tree's background is that her mother died a few years before, and you kind of get the impression that's why she is the way she is, because she actually says to Carter at one point, if my mother was here, she would be ashamed of what I was like. So you get the feeling that she maybe wasn't always a dick, and I think the second movie kind of proves that a bit when we go into the alternate dimension. So I like that they have that. Oh, that's right. And her mother shares her birthday, and that's why she's really depressed on this one day, because she's used to having her mum there on her birthday. So she goes through and she has this day where she makes amends and she makes peace with her mum's death, and she thinks she's going to get the serial killer. And that's when Carter dies. And I love that she decides to kill herself because she's like, oh God, if I don't die, then Carter's going to stay dead. And then of course, she kills herself, and then she comes back, and there's a day where she actually does get the serial killer, and then she discovers, and we're going to go into spoiler territory here, but we'll just the great reveal is that her roommate was trying to kill her with a cupcake, and if she'd actually just eaten the cupcake in the morning, that would have just been it. But because she never actually eats the cupcake until the final day, when she finally has killed the serial killer and she eats the cupcake, and I just love, she wakes up the next morning, she's just like, yeah.
That's really good.
So pissed off, and she's so angry, but at least it helps her to solve the mystery. So I really liked that, because when I first watched this movie, I did not see that coming. I did not think it was going to be the roommate, because the roommate was such a small character, like we only saw her a few times, like we only glimpsed her a few times, and so the reveal that it was actually her, because she's having an affair with the married man as well, was fantastic. Plus, I love how pissed off Tree is when she's like, you've been killing me over and over for some guy. Like, I'd be pissed too, man. I'd be like, really? So I thought that was a great reveal, and when you watch the movie, like when I was watching it this time, the death scene where she gets arrested by the cop, and she's like, yes, take me to jail, because in jail they can't kill me, but then she gets trapped in the car because the babyface killers found her. They drop what I thought was a match to light like to spark a gasoline explosion that tree, but it's actually not a match. It's the candle from the cupcake, which I never noticed. So
Yeah,
stuff like that.
clever.
Like there are very little subtle hints that it is the roommate. Let's talk about that baby mask. Oh man. What is that?
Well, I was going to say, I think this is the sort of movie where probably if you rewatch it, it's quite tight. It does track back, then it actually makes sense. But I was the same as you. Yeah, the first time I didn't have any clue it was going to be the other like roommate, and yeah, it makes sense. I know some people say, "Well, it's a bit of a silly reveal," and
I thought it worked.
It works for the movie, and it's quite surprising, and it's just those small details that make it work, and it's almost a lot of it is to do with about fate, how like she could have just accepted the cupcake and that's it, she would have died, but because it's almost like because she was quite bitch and antisocial at that point, he actually saved her, which is sort of funny. But yeah, I just like the level of detail of the roommate's plan, like her then contacting this serial killer, like releasing him so that he could like try and do the job. Yeah. And another thing is that serial killer looked a lot like Brad Dourif, and
he did, didn't he? Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me in this sort of film if they did that on purpose.
On purpose, yeah.
Like, this is Chucky, basically Charles Lee Ray. It looks a lot like him. But so I enjoy the twist, and there's some good action scenes as well. That's another thing. I think the actress does like physical scenes really well.
Yeah.
I said watching this, like it would be a bit cliche to like do it again, but it's like watching this, I did think she could be a good Buffy actually. Like, has a lot of the sort of skills I think you would need. But there's some good action scenes.
Yeah, and I think there are some good scenes that actually do work as horror scenes before, the comedy really kicks in. Because I think the first sequence, like the first time she wakes up and that first day when she dies, and she's walking to her surprise party and that creepy like little toy starts playing Happy Birthday to You in the alleyway, and it's all kind of like, dark shadows, and then the killer with the baby face mask comes out of nowhere and we have a good chase scene and stuff. So it feels like a bit of a slasher film at times, and I think that at the beginning, at the very least, we do get a bit of horror mixed in with the comedy. Like the second day, when she makes it to the surprise party, and then she goes upstairs with a guy, and he turns on like rave music in his bedroom, and the music is so loud that when she has her back turned to him and she's texting with her friend, he is actually getting murdered behind her because
that's really funny.
And I thought that was a really funny, like fun setup and like a really fun scene that mixed the slasher with the comedy. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, because that guy was just so over the top, and I almost question the logic of her being that into him, but I guess it's just Shallow Tree.
Yeah, I think it's just to show,
Yeah, and I don't know if she did it partly because the best friend liked him or something.
Yes,
I think that's
Danielle.
Implied, isn't it? Yeah. But that's a good scene.
So I think that I actually don't have a lot of complaints about this first film. I actually think it's really well made, and I think it's a really fun film, and I think that it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I always like. I always like a film that knows that it's a bit silly and a bit campy and just kind of leans into it, and I think this film does that quite well. And this film's definitely a comedy horror, but I found with the second film, I didn't know what genre to put it in because it kind of loses the horror aspect. So Stephen and I were watching this and we were enjoying it, but we were like, what genre is this? It's technically they put it in horror because it is a sequel to a horror film, but I didn't feel that the second film had that horror element anymore. I felt like they lost that in the second film.
It's meant to be more of a sci-fi because that becomes important to the plot. It's like the timeline has been messed up and they've got to try and fix it. And they sort of swerve you because it actually starts off from the point of view of Carter's roommate.
Yes. Yeah.
who we see in little bits because he keeps walking in on them in the
Oh
first
yeah,
film.
with his fantastic line. Who wrote that line? Hey dude, did you get on that fine vagina? What
Oh,
is that?
okay. I must have missed that.
Oh,
But
he
yeah,
says that at
that's
least
just.
3
Oh,
times.
does he?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
And what's
terrible.
his name? Damon or something? Or
Ryan, I'm pretty
Brian?
sure.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Ryan. Yeah, that's
Ryan,
it.
Ryan, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, because they start off the film with him being the one who's reliving the day, and it sort of makes you look like he might become the lead, but
Mm,
yeah, that was never going to happen, really, because they always wanted Tree back as the lead. But
yeah.
it's it gives a little bit more to his character, and then it reveals then it was him and his fellow science nerds who screwed up the
Messing with things
timeline.
they shouldn't be messing with.
Yeah, and so that they become characters in the movie, and
Mm,
Tree and Carter have to work with them to try and fix things, and you get all sorts of shenanigans, and
mm.
in some ways, now this film is definitely, I think, prestige in Back to the Future too. Like in particular, the
Ah,
second Back to the Future,
okay.
because that's more about like the timeline being messed
Mm.
up, and that also does the sort of plot about you can't run into like your like future self and that
Mm.
sort of thing.
Well,
So
you've got that with Ryan, because yeah. So this
yeah,
film picks up. It took me a little bit to remember, because I watched the second film first because I hadn't seen it yet, and then I went back and watched the
okay,
first one. So I didn't realize that. Yeah, the second film picks up literally like seconds after the first film ends. Like the first film ends with
yeah,
Tree and Carter in his room on Tuesday the 19th. That's right, because she keeps reliving Monday the 18th. So they wake up on Tuesday the 19th, and Ryan has, yeah, exactly the same thing. He has a whole sequence where he goes through his day and then he restarts the day, and Tree and Carter are instantly like, oh, crap, we've just been through all of this. And yes, they find out that they have this stupid device that they're building where they decided that they want to try to, I think they want to slow down time or something like that. That they're
mm.
basically they're messing with things they shouldn't mess with. And yeah, and so Ryan has like a doppelganger that has come from like an alternate reality to stop Ryan
Yes,
from setting this thing off, which unfortunately he does, which then blows poor Tree into an alternate dimension where she's stuck in the time loop again. And it's really like you feel so bad for this poor girl. Like she's literally just escaped one time loop and she ends up back in another. But as
history.
Keith said earlier, in this timeline, she finds out her mother is alive. So, of course, we have a big moral kind of, yeah, like a decision for her to face. Does she stay here with a fake life where she doesn't get to be with the man that she loves because she and Carter aren't together in this? In this universe, he's with Danielle. Who even knows how that happened?
Yeah,
But yeah, so but what I do like about the second movie is it shows like when Tree goes to the alternate universe, it shows the follow-on effect that her mother's grief, like the grief over her mother had, because in this universe, she's no longer a dickhead. Like she actually gets along with her roommate. She's not having an affair with the professor. She's actually a nice human being. Like, so all of these things don't happen because Tree is a different person. So I found, almost like a butterfly effect type thing. Like if one
yeah.
thing happens, what are the follow-on consequences? So yeah, definitely more science fiction, I think, the second one. It had a definite sci-fi air to it. Again, lots of comedy,
Yeah.
because Tree realizes that that's right. So they discovered that they have to run all these different algorithms to try and get Tree. That's right. They want to close the time loop, and either Tree has to decide whether to stay in this timeline or the original timeline. And they realize that the only way to do this is to constantly get Tree to memorize all the different algorithms because she's the only one that remembers the day. So you have this great montage of her. That's right. They're like, oh, and she's like, so I just have to keep getting murdered. And they're like, well, you could just kill yourself. So we actually have all these really funny ways that Tree is like killing herself. Like, when she drops the toaster in the bathtub, or when she's in the hardware store and she just picks up the paint thinner and she's like,
That's
hey,
really
cheers,
good.
and
Yeah.
just starts glugging it. Or when she jumps out of the plane, and like as she's falling down, she goes past Danielle and Carter on the bench, and she's like, "Yeah," and
She
then
well, she breaks the fourth wall basically because she's
yeah,
talking to us.
mhm.
Really,
But it's a lot of fun.
that's
The
a
second
weaker
one.
scene. I'm not so keen on that one.
Oh, really? I
And
loved that. I thought that was brilliant.
But it was one of those I picked. Like I just had to pick out a nitpick in that scene, and that is because she was like semi-naked when she was up in the plane. It's
Oh,
like
she's in a bikini.
didn't well, you know what I mean. But didn't the instructor notice her, unless she just happened to whip off the thing at the right moment?
True, true.
I mean, there's all sorts of logic holes in that scene if you look at
If you
it.
look too hard, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So
Yeah, the
don't look too
fourth wall
close.
break I don't think was really earned. If you were stuck in this scenario, and it makes sense to the plot because they come up with this idea, but it's you would start to have fun and just go with it. And
Yeah.
they at least address the fact that she is getting weaker the more times she does it, because she says that I'm not sure how many times I can do it. And that adds stakes, that adds to the sort of rules of the thing. And the whole thing about them doing different, like, variations. And this is why the second movie being a sci-fi, I think, makes sense, because that's kind of what she was doing anyway in the first movie. So the sci-fi genre fits that quite well, I think.
I also like the hypothesis they come up with, which is like Tree, yes, she's got her mother in this life, but as Carter points out, this isn't actually technically her life, it's someone else's. Like, she's not the Tree from this universe. These aren't her memories, this isn't her life. And there's this moment where she's with her parents and she's convinced them to leave town because she wants to stay in this timeline and she doesn't want to die again. And her mother says, like, oh, I could really go for, like, she mentions like some bun or some pastry that they got from some shop. And Tree's like, I don't know. And then she has this realization when she's like, that wasn't me, that didn't happen to me. So it almost, brings up this existentialism type thing of like, do you stay in a life that isn't yours? What makes us who we are? Again, it's that whole butterfly effect thing. So obviously she has to make the choice at the end of like, do I stay in this dimension where it's not really my life and it's not really where I'm supposed to be, or do I go back to the other life and give up having my mother? It's it's a choice no one would want to make.
Which anyone would envy.
No.
And it's definitely a tough one, and it's why you do movies like this in a way, because it can make you think about this stuff. But
yeah,
I think it's Carter she's talking to about, isn't? And he has I think it's Carter, but he has the perfect answer. It's sort of almost like, it's something along the line of, this is your reality, and like that would change. Your experiences wouldn't be yours anymore.
Yes, because it's your experiences that make you who you are. Yeah.
So that's the perfect answer to me. I think that nails exactly why she has to make the choice that she does. But another thing about it being, as I said, this does feel like it's pastiche in Back to the Future Part 2 in particular, is then notably that was a darker film to the first Back to the Future, and I think this is a bit of a darker sequel as well to the first Happy Death Day, I would say, at times. But also the fact that it's got a lot of heart. Like, overall, I think the first film is better because I think it's tighter, it's the original idea, and it's very entertaining. Like, the balance in that film is a little bit better, but
yes, I think so.
This film, like, does a good job of expanding on those ideas and making it a fun sequel, and it has heart. That's crucial.
Yes,
it has heart because the stuff with her mother is like really moving stuff.
It is. It's beautiful. And I also really like, because we get more of Tree, so we get more of her character development. So we see her in this movie, we can see the character development that she's gone through in the previous movie affecting her here, the way she interacts with Carter, the way she's very grateful to the guys who are helping her. I absolutely love the gag where they keep calling her Crazy White Chick, and then when she calls one of them, you can see that it's in the phone is like Crazy White Chick. So I think that's quite funny. I think when this film, when the second film leans into the comedy, it's like, it's really quite funny. The final sequence where the dean is trying to get to the reactor before they set it off, and it's all in slow motion, and you see like the two other people like in slow motion kicking at the dean and like, you know,
I
just
really
causing
like
this whole
that
ruckus.
stuff.
I had a lot of fun with that. I have to admit, I was a little sad to see that, well, not sad, but a little upset that like that it wasn't as horror focused to this one, you know, as we've
Yeah.
talked about. It weren't as, but I guess given the type of sequel it is and given what it was following, you really only could do the horror in the first one, because in the second one there's not as much of the murder mystery, so you know the deal, you know what Tree has to do and you know what needs to happen, which is brings me to my only tiny little complaint about the second film, is that I do think it was a touch predictable. Like, you knew that Tree was going to get back home. I pretty much figured out who the killer was, like right from that jump scare where he turns up in the hospital, because it turns out, we'll give some
Okay.
spoilers away, people. So in this reality,
Yeah.
the serial killer is still active. Her roommate doesn't want to kill her though, because she's actually not a dick in this one, but the doctor is after the roommate and accidentally kills Tree in the process. So it's the guy that she was having an affair with in the original timeline. So I actually figured that out. And so I found that a little bit predictable. And then, like I said, the fact that we knew that she would eventually get back to, you know, her timeline. So it didn't dampen my experience, like my enjoyment of the movie that much. It was just more like with the first movie, I really had no idea who was after her. So we had that great reveal at the end, and I got like a really good surprise.
Maybe there's a bit more suspense to the
it was a bit more unpredictable. Yeah, whereas the second movie, definitely enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it. I thought Tree's character development was great. I thought Carter was still a really fun character.
Yeah.
I liked that Ryan got to become a bit more of a character as well. And you know, they had a lot of fun with the premise, but yeah, I found it a tad predictable and not as horror heavy, which obviously, like we said, it's understandable that it wasn't horror heavy, but it was a bit a jump to go from the first, which is a bit more horror focused.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right. I would say the twist isn't as good, but I don't mind the twist at the same time.
I didn't mind it either.
It's almost like the twist maybe doesn't matter so much as in the first film, so I think they just went with what they went with, and it was more the other stuff figuring it out and the time travel stuff. So it probably didn't matter as much about who the killer was in this one. And I think they just went with it and had a bit of fun with in that scene with it. But no, I get what you're saying. Red type moments, some predictable moments, and it was actually an interesting idea that they decided to just relive the same day and change it to sci-fi, and you just add little twists in, because like when you had the sequel, you might just assume that it's a different day that she's reliving or that they're doing something, but no, they went with that. And for the most part, I think it works really well. It does have that feel, I think, of that sort of sequel thing of, well, here we go again, and it's almost being like winking and nudging with that being quite ironic. So in some ways, although parts of the movie are a bit darker than the first one, and you do have even more of a heart in some ways because of the stuff with the mother.
I think so.
But you know, like a lot of the other stuff is probably even more tongue in cheek than the first film.
I think so.
Let's just talk a bit more about some of the other characters, and let's talk about that scene with Danielle that you mentioned. That is a standout scene. That is really good fun. I think that actress is so good in that scene. I just love the absurdity of the scene. It just
well, you have that great gag right at the beginning where she walks in. So we see Danielle in this this reality walk in with like a cane and glasses, and you can see Tree at first thinks, okay, is she blind in this universe? And then you realize that she's just doing a really, really bad acting job. And so later on, the dean shuts down the experiment and they need to go and steal the reactor back. So that's right. Tree goes to Danielle in this reality and goes to apologize for judging her again because she's dating Carter, and Tree's a bit jealous. And then she finds out that Danielle is cheating on Carter with a really, really dumb dude, like a really dumb dude. I haven't seen a guy this dumb in a movie in a long time. And so she uses that to blackmail Danielle who does this fantastic subterfuge with the dean where she pretends to be a blind French student.
French,
And
yeah.
we get this whole kind of almost like slapstick farce scene where she's trying to keep the dean distracted, but also trying to make sure he doesn't figure out that she's blind. And at one point, I think she just whacks him in the face with a cane.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
And I think throughout the whole scene, he's like, "Can't you look out for where you go? Oh no, sorry, you can't." And then, "Oh, you shouldn't be using a cane." And oh, right. So like the whole scene, like it's over the top and it's ridiculous. But I had a lot of fun watching it. So you really enjoyed that scene too?
It's really good. Yeah, the actress is great, and it's sort of pure pantomime, isn't it? In many ways, but like you said, a lot of slapstick and. It's just so much fun, like just watching it play out, like the elaborate plan and sort of how silly it is, but the way it cuts back and forth between that and the other characters, where they're, as it goes on, they're trying to sneak the stuff out of the where it's being stored and locked up. But no, it's really fun, and I like that actress, the Danielle actress, gets more to do in this film as well. And I do like the additions to the cast. I do like the science people as well. I think they had a little bit.
I do too. They're fun.
They're likeable and quite funny. So no, I think the new characters were added something.
I do love in the Dean scene where Danielle, she's all like, she's doing her crappy French accent. She's like, "Let me touch your face." And she puts her hands all over the Dean's face. And he says something about her smelling like cheese. And she instantly loses the French accent. She's like, "I don't eat cheese." And then she's like, "I am lactose intolerant." And it's like, she's just so bad at the farce. And it's just so much fun to watch it. And and then at one point, the Dean's like looking somewhere. So she's just like, "Oh," and she like grabs the banner and like pulls the whole banner down, and then she's like, the whole thing is just brilliant.
It's brilliant.
It's just really over the top, and I think it's brilliant because they're leaning into the stupidity. You know, they're just really just going for it. I think if they had a half-hearted actor or an actor who wasn't going to like fully commit to it, it wouldn't have played out as well. But I think the actress who plays Danielle and the actor who plays the Dean, they just went for it in that scene, and so you really feel the fun and the funniness coming out of it. So yeah, I like that she got more to do with this movie, and definitely like the two science geeks. Just crazy white chick reference is awesome. Oh, and that's right, because they can't use the reactor one day because one of them has been watching porn, and they're like, "Were you watching porn on the main server again?" And it takes them like 7 hours to like undo the bug that he's accidentally downloaded. Although, oh my gosh, the scene, let's show how horrible Danielle is. The scene where she calls Samar samosa, I was just like, oh no. First film, I think it had a good runtime. Again, I think it's only like an hour.
Yeah, and they're both roughly the same.
Yeah, so good pacing and didn't get bogged down too much. And just, a really fun sequel, I think.
Cool. Like another one. And we keep getting told that apparently it's not going to happen. Like that's, which is funny because the sequel, like Happy Death Day to You, did make good money. So I guess maybe it didn't make enough from their point of view. But
yeah.
But the very last bit, because there's a mid-credits thing with what
is there? Oh my god! I didn't watch.
Seen
I
it.
turned it off. No!
So you should always watch the credits. But
should always watch the credits.
Okay, I'll have to explain for this review then. Quick context. So what happens is they get called into the FBI, like Tree and everyone else.
Oh, okay.
Because the FBI have found out about this technology, and so they want to use it. But then to do it, they have to do a trial run. And so there's a line from one of the FBI agents about we need to get someone who's like unlikable, who's expendable. So then Tree says, "Oh, I think I know someone," and it cuts to Danielle, and she wakes up and starts screaming. Yeah,
just having a look at that. Oh, that is cool.
Well, okay, so I mean, all I was gonna ask is, do you think that's just a cheeky like cliffhanger they snuck in, or do you think they were actually setting up a third film?
No, from what I'm looking at, I think this was just a cheeky little cliffhanger, just a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like the technology is still out there, you know, this might happen again. And maybe it was kind of like, it was put there as a little bit of both. Like we'll put in this cheeky post-credit scene if this movie happens to make a lot of money and they want another sequel, we've got the hook here. If not, it's just a fun little mid-credit scene. So it could be either. Do you reckon they were setting up a sequel, or?
No, I think I agree with you. Because also, it could be an idea then if they wanted a sequel, they might think that the tree storyline is now complete. Like,
yes, it's done.
Maybe you can't do anything else. So they could always throw someone like Danielle in, but as the lead. But I definitely think it was just tongue in cheek sort of
It's
thing.
fun though. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that in full after we finish up. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I was trying to wonder what the genre would be, because in theory, if they did a third one, you would think they would do a different genre again. Maybe an action movie. Maybe they'll make an act like that. Yeah, it's hard to think what they would do, like if they changed the genre again. Because I had an idea then the format could work quite well on TV, like in an anthology.
Oh, actually, yeah, it could.
Possibly.
It could be an interesting idea.
Yeah, I think you would have to do it. It was a different story each week, maybe.
Yeah.
Different set of characters, but
it's a concept you can do a lot with. Like, it's such a basic concept that just opens up so many different ways to go. So it's definitely something they could build on if they wanted to. But I think you're right. I think the tree storyline is done, and they need to, like, hers is complete. And if they do go on, it'll have to be with other characters.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying I necessarily want this to be a franchise that runs and runs, but I could at least see another film from it if they do something a bit different again. And I think you can just treat it as a standalone sequel, assuming they did change up. I mean, they might want Tree involved somehow, but maybe more in a supporting role. We'll see. I would be up for a third one, definitely.
Yeah, if they did it as well as these two. But if we don't get a third one, these two are both fun, solid movies. Again, I don't think they're anything, exceptional, but they're definitely fun and they know really solid. They know what they're doing and they work well with what they've got. And they don't take themselves too seriously. And like you said, the lead actress, she is really good. And I once you said that Buffy thing, I really agree with you. She really could play a Buffy type character. She's got that attitude.
Yeah, because I think she's got the sort of charisma. I think she can do one line as well, and she seems like good in action scenes, and has a little bit of a range. So yeah, I could see her in that sort of a role. These films are very rewatchable.
Yes.
It has that in its favour, and I think quite refreshing for modern, what I would say like mainstream type films.
Yes.
So yeah, no, it's good because I remember when the first one came out, I saw the trailer at the cinema and I thought, yeah, that looks decent, but I had no idea I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. It was quite a nice little surprise. Nice little gem from that.
I think I was the same. Like, I'd seen the trailer and thought, oh, that looks okay. And then when I finally sat down to watch it, I was surprised at how much I really genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, like it had a charm to it. And I think that surprised me. And it was a lot of fun. Okay, so I think we should rate both movies separately. So what would you rate the first one?
So I'd probably give the first one an 8 out of 10. I can't give it anything higher because, like I said, I don't think it's anything overly spectacular, but I think it's solid. It's a really solid, fun movie. I think the horror elements work well. I think the murder mystery element works really well. Tree is a great character. She has a great journey, and I think Carter's a great supporting character. I really like some of the sequences. I meant to mention there are some fun sequences when she dies. They have some fun transitions of her waking up in the bed. There's one I particularly love where she gets hit in the side of the head with a baseball bat, and as she's falling, you see the background transition, and then she lands with her head on the pillow of the dorm room, and I thought that was a fun transition.
Good, isn't it? Yeah.
So the first one I'd go 8 out of 10, and then the second one I'd probably give a 7.5, just because I don't think it's quite as good as the first one. It's not quite as tight. It's not quite as well thought out. And like I said, I did find it just a tad predictable, but not enough to ruin it for me. But I think it was really funny. Like we've said, some of the comedy is like really on point in the second one, and we get more development of Tree and a little bit more of a deeper exploration of her character and her grief over her mum. So 8 out of 10 and 7.5. What about you?
Yeah, well, we're in agreement. That's what I
What is
was going to
happening?
go with.
We are in agreement.
Yeah,
A lot
we're in
happening in the
Bizarro
air.
land. Yeah, we're in our own Happy Death Day
Yeah.
universe. But yeah, no, that's what I was thinking, because yeah, the first one I enjoy a lot, and I've rewatched it a few times, and it really holds up. So really strong storytelling, which is probably what mostly makes it better than the sequel. But
Yeah.
the sequel definitely is a good example of what sequels should do, where it feels enough of like it's like the first film, but it definitely adds things and adds to the universe, and as we said, has a bit of heart as well. Like the mother storyline is really moving.
Yeah.
And added something a bit different to it, added stakes to the whole thing. So yeah, I think that is about right. I think 8 for the first one, 7.5 for the second one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. You can share us out on social media. You can also get me up if you want to support the channel monetarily. You can get me on patreon.com/boardnow. So that is, you can get extra commentaries on there. So like I'm doing X-Files commentaries once in a while. I've done some like big movies, like I did the first Indiana Jones movie. There's a commentary of that up there if you want that. Also, horror-wise, I did a commentary of Better Watch Out, the Christmas slasher movie. That's up on there as well. And you also get early access to certain things as well. And as time goes on, me and Rachel will do exclusive videos for Patreon as well. So you can enjoy those for, as I said, just $1 a month. But it is getting a nice sort of back catalogue now, where if you signed up now, there's quite a bit on there for you to go back and listen to. So yeah, if you just want to help out the channel a little bit monetarily, check that out. If you want to promote your channel, Rachel.
Guys, you can follow me on YouTube, Rachel McDonald, video essays on TV shows and movies. I do have some horror content on there, so head on over. And my Tumblr is also linked through there, so come follow me there as well. And Keith usually puts a link in the description, usually when we're on the same page, so he'll probably do it with this video. So come and follow me everywhere.
Yeah, she repeats that joke so often. It's like it's in a loop of its own, really. Yeah, Happy Death Day style loop. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you later.
See ya.